Well, I am talking to Dani Lin, and I am so glad to connect with you, Dani. We've had a little conversation. I checked you out on Facebook, and you also have a site, DaniLinPsychicMedium.com. And
Yes.
I've been in the metaphysical field, as I was telling you, I've been in the field since I was 13, 14 years old, which is a long, long time.
Right.
And it's very interesting because you're going to be doing this special appearance at Relics Restaurant and Roadhouse at 3235 Highway 89A in Sedona on
Right.
Saturday, June 29th at 6:30. And I
Yes.
was talking to you about this very interesting subject. And the fact is that I really have always had conversations that were very deep in a kind of meditative way with people who have passed on. And I
Yeah.
have never had any fear at all
Mhm.
with having that. And I've had a lot of people pass on. It's funny, people don't seem to mind dreams, but there's sometimes such a need, don't you find, to connect with those who may have made a transition and there may be some unresolved issues with someone that
Oh
has
yeah.
passed on. Do you find that?
Oh, definitely. I just got off a tour of Iowa, and I read for probably about 300 people. And a lot of times when people hire me, they're looking for that last connection or trying to find closure, or even like there's maybe a mystery around a loved one's death. And one particular family hired me in Iowa, and they didn't tell me anything. I tell them, I'm like, I don't want to know anything, just the first name and the relationship to you of that person, nothing else. And I go in there, and I'm sitting there at the round table of people, and I didn't know this, so I'm reading for this kid, and basically what came out is that the family had questions about his death. And so this young man came through, and he's like, listen, this is how I died, and this is how it happened, and you have to accept it. And when you hire someone and you know, don't have closure about the person's death or whatever it is, it's like you have to understand that you're there to get answers, not to get what you want to be said.
That's very
And that can
important.
be,
I'm going to slow you down there because you said something that is such a key, and it's so wise, Dani. And that one key can actually change everyone's understanding and ability to accept. Just the
right.
ability to accept is so powerful.
Yeah, and you know, when you call somebody who's passed away that you're connected to, that you loved, you know, they're going to tell you things that you may not want to necessarily hear. And that's why I'm like, when you get a reading from me, I need you to be ready for this, emotionally, mentally ready. Because you're going to hear exactly what you're supposed to hear, not what you want to hear. And know that anything that comes through with me specifically is only going to be for your highest good.
Oh, that's the other
And
important key. You're very wise, Dani. I mean,
thank
the
you.
highest good is extremely important because some people, you know what bothers me so much, Dani, is some of these movies that are out there
Oh,
and some of these very evil kind of bad energy, occultism thing that portray fear and scare
yeah,
about anything about people who
yeah,
have passed on and these beings that are trying to do harm. And so
yeah.
people think of this very sacred way of communicating sometimes in a negative way.
Right. Well, I'm not trying to say that there aren't negative things out there. There are, but people don't realize that that's actually more rare than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood loves to feed people what they want, and people are souls connected to an animal being, okay? Our animal being thrives on endorphins and what's the other hormone I'm trying to say?
Adrenaline?
Adrenaline. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this need to be scared.
Mm.
We have this need to feel alive, and adrenaline and endorphins helps us feel alive in our animal body, right? Just like love. When we fall in love, there's a chemical wash on our brain that makes us feel euphoric. It's the same thing with adrenaline. So Hollywood knows this about the human psyche and says people love to be scared because we're not being chased by lions anymore. We don't have to worry about that. So how do we get these people to feel? And that's what movies are about. So they make scary movies. Some of the movies that are the scariest are paranormal-based movies because, especially for men, we can't fight it, they think. We cannot physically fight it.
How did you first realize your gift?
Oh, gosh. It took a very long time. When I was a little girl, I knew things that other little girls didn't know. We're all connected to it in a certain way. This is a sacred communication, just like you said, and we're all built to do it to a degree, and that's how we're made, is to be sensitive to energy, period. It's just the way it is. So when I was a little girl, I was, just like every other parent, and all of us do it, that, our kids says, oh, I see somebody in my closet, and we're like, your imagination's going wild, just go to sleep and shut up.
That's right.
We teach our children that this natural way of being and perceiving is wrong or a figment of your imagination. And so we shut it off for a while. So it wasn't until I was a teenager that, I started knowing things. I understood things that other kids didn't understand. And then all of a sudden, I lived in a small town in Iowa, and there's nothing to do but go to parties. And so my friends would kind of like, Dani, let's go to the party, and I was the one with the car. And I would go to these parties, but I was, I knew my mother was going to know. I was going to get in trouble. My mother was going to kill me. So they would hand me a beer, and I would take one sip and hold it all night so that I wouldn't get asked to have more. But I wouldn't drink because I was just too paranoid. And so I would get this gut feeling at some point in the night, like, okay, something's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. I can't stay here. I have to leave. I have to leave. It was that gut feeling, that intuition, And everybody was like, oh, you're fine, Dani. Quit being such a worrywart. Everything's fine. And I'm like, forget you guys. I'm going to leave. And so I would leave, and I would pass the cops on the way. They were on the way to the party. I was leaving.
Wow.
So those types of things was a constant in my life and then it got stronger and stronger as I got older, and I got married, and I had babies, and then we started looking for houses to buy. And my husband really liked the old Victorian houses all over Iowa. And so I was looking at old houses, and I was like, something's going on here, because I'm hearing people yell, hey, in my ear, and they're not here. That kind of a thing. And then it wasn't until, it was just, I was a funny chick who had really good stories. That's basically what I was. Until I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2008. And then in 2009, when I was done with all my treatments and my surgeries, a dam broke. And I couldn't deny it anymore. So it was about that time. So I was, 32 possibly, when I realized I'm a medium and I need to learn how to live with this and control this. And then eventually I started working professionally.
Do you think that your cancer, which is very, very traumatic and life-changing, going through an experience like that, do you think that it made you finally aware of your true purpose and destiny more, and when then all of a sudden you realized this was your gift?
Absolutely. It was not something that I yearned for. It was not something that I went to classes to learn. I love it when people are like, we can teach you how to be a medium. And I'm like, mediums are born. It's not, if psychic ability, everybody's psychic to a degree. And there's so many different ways to be psychic. And everybody has a touch of mediumship. But unless you're born to be a messenger specifically, there's only so much that dial can be turned up. You know what I'm saying?
I do, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so for me, it was like the floodgates just burst. And I couldn't deny it anymore. I couldn't just be a stay-at-home mom and a wife, which is what I was. And I literally ran to my therapist. I thought I lost my mind.
When did you decide how to channel this and use this for helping people?
My whole life, I was the go-to person for broken people. Even when I was a little girl, all the little girls who were being sexually abused, physically abused, mentally abused would come to me and ask me what they should do. As I grew up and as a teenager, every person with an eating disorder or a mental disorder or dealing with hard things in their lives found me. And I was not a popular girl in school. I was very much an introvert who hid from everybody, but they would find me. So what I realized is that I have been serving my purpose in a very unhealthy way all my life, where I was investing emotionally because I'm an empath. I could feel all of their pain.
Oh, yeah.
And when they were telling me about what's going on, and then I would give them advice, and then they would ignore it, I took it personally. I took on their pain. I took on the responsibility of saving this person.
Wow.
And I did it all my life until I was able to do this, because I remember when I went through cancer, before I was diagnosed, I had my own dog grooming shop in my home. So I was a stay-at-home mom, but I did have a business. And when I was diagnosed with breast cancer and they had to take lymph nodes and all my surgeries, they said, you cannot do repetitive motion anymore. You have to quit your career. And I just sat down and I cried, and through my treatments and everything, I'm like, and I've never been a religious person, but I've been a very spiritual person myself. And I said, God, give me an ability to help my husband cover the bills. Give me the ability to serve my purpose the way that you made me, so that I can help everybody in a way that is good for me and healthy for me, and be able to help my husband, pay for the extras for my kids. Because I feel like I am just a burden in this life, and I don't want to feel that way anymore.
That is so powerful. I mean, this is, I think a lot of people might relate. I'm an empath, and it is so, people do not understand what it's like to take on the energy in large places. Or, you learn you have to really protect yourself psychically, you put, and there really is a gift to being an empath, but it's also, it can be difficult because you are so sensitive, and there's a lot of things you kind of know, and sometimes you can't say anything about, right? I mean, there's times you do know things and you go, I can't butt in because I haven't been asked to help, right?
Right. But I'm so outspoken that I'd butt in anyway, and I'd make everybody angry.
Yes.
And it is a blessing, and it's a curse, because people love you for who you are, but then they end up hating you for who you are, because how dare you be right about me? Wow. You're telling them lessons that they're not ready to receive. And so and then it broke me. It would break me. It would harm me so much, because I took on so much of who they were. That I would fall into a depression because I couldn't save everybody. And it killed me that I couldn't save these people that I loved so much. I've never met a stranger. Everybody I meet, I fall a little bit of it in love with, because I see their light. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when I paid that, or meditated on that, or sent it out to the universe, however you want to put it, not even a month later, my dead grandmother started talking to me.
Wow. Well, if you're just tuning in, I'm talking to Dani Lin, who's going to be appearing at Relics Restaurant and Roadhouse at 3235 Highway 89A, Saturday, June 29th at 6:30 in Sedona. And she's going to be sharing her knowledge, her wisdom, her insight, and answering questions as well. And it's going to be a very interesting, intimate experience, kind of one-on-one feeling, because it's just 100 people. And you can go to eventbrite.com and find it, or if you want to have a reservation at Relics, you can contact them as well for dinner and other things. But so this is a really important point, and what you're getting to, I totally feel. So when you want to help people, and you need to do that, was it hard for you to go out on the road and start doing this and owning your gifts and being able to let people was it difficult to do that?
It was very nerve-wracking because, Iowa, because I was living in Iowa at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Iowa is very conservative.
Yes.
And I lived in Iowa City, which is very much more educated and more open-minded. It's a college town. That's what I meant by educated. You know what I'm saying? But it was so funny because I just started by doing tarot. And I'm like, wow, I'm getting all of this. So I'm talking to dead people. That was just for me. It was just my grandma. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing tarot, and I'm like, well, I'll just put it up on Facebook that I'm doing tarot readings. And so I was doing this, and then one day, it was about 3 weeks in, I'm sitting there doing tarot, and I'm like, why is your daughter angry with you? Your daughter's angry with you. You don't listen to her. She's trying to talk to you, and you don't listen to her. And he looked at me, and he got angry and goes, my daughter's dead.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, I can do it for other people, too.
Wow.
And I apologized profusely, and I told him I'm very sorry. I'm not understanding what's happening, and I don't know why this is. Maybe you need to just have a meditation and have a conversation with your daughter, whether it's, just one-sided. Smoothed it over because he was very, very upset that I brought her up and that she was angry at him. So I smoothed it over, and then I realized, okay, this isn't just a me thing. This is an everybody thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it got out that I was a medium, and I'm like, well, I can't do this professionally until I can control this. And I know what I'm doing and what my symbols are and what the pictures mean and what the emotions are and all that stuff. Because, you watch, I grew up watching John Edward and, Long Island Medium was around. I'm like, I can't do what they can do. I'm picking up stuff, but I didn't think that I had the expertise. So it took me a while, and then somebody just called me up, and they said, would you please do a group reading and do the mediumship? And I'm like, well, I haven't done that yet. And they're like, would you please just try? And they paid me, and I drove, the hour to get there, and it went wonderfully, and everything was dead on, and the things that didn't make sense, a week later, I got letters from these people through email saying, oh, my gosh, that one thing that we didn't understand? Now I understand it because it's like lightning. I understood it now. And so I was like, okay, well, now I can do this. Now I can control this. It was just the act of doing it and allowing myself to take that chance of failing. You know what I'm saying?
I do. It's a big
learn
risk.
How to trust myself.
It takes a lot of confidence, and that is an interesting thing too, because you obviously have learned to listen, from what's coming, and actually learning to listen brought you to the point you're at, and then you have to be able to hold that space while you're around a lot of people as well, which must have been interesting for you as an empath to be able to focus and try to help for the highest good and to help people while you're in these public settings with people you've never met before.
Oh, yeah. It's nerve-wracking, and that's why, when I do group readings in people's homes, I keep it down to the most I'll do is 12. I did 15 one time, and I about killed myself. Because after I do a group reading, I'm reading for 8 hours straight.
Wow.
And, yeah, because every single person gets a reading.
Uh-huh. Wow.
I don't just do the whole, everybody's there and then I read for 3 people and I'm out. I don't do that. And so I'm physically exhausted. I can't get off the couch for 2 days.
Wow.
So I keep it to 12. But when I do shows where I have, I've had up to 350 people at one point, and I just take volunteers. I don't do the gallery readings where I feel somebody over here in this section, and there's a really grumpy old man in overalls. Because, everybody has a grumpy old man in overalls. I'm not going to do that. I guess my daughter says that it's called shotgunning, and I refuse to do it.
Uh-huh.
My thing is my job is to not make believers of people, but to keep skepticism at its lowest point. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
So people in the audience will raise their hands, and then I find out who I'm being pulled to. I will pull a specific person that I feel like I'm supposed to read for this person. I ask them to come up, and they go to usually it's just a microphone in the aisle. And then I say, hello, what's your name? They give me their first name. That's all I want. And I said, who would you like to talk to tonight? And then she gives me the first name of the person they want to talk to and the relationship to them. And then I start listening and calling that person's name and asking them to come forward. And then they give me validation. Because my job is to make people understand I am calling the person that you want to talk to. We're going to verify that this is the person you want to talk to. And then they tend to tell you how to live your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So have you had people kind of have life-changing moments when they actually did find some key that they were looking for or answer they were looking for and coming through to them?
Oh, yeah. I definitely... So I always tell people, I'm like, don't come in with a lot of expectation because they're going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, first of all. Mm-hmm. But at that same point, a lot of the times I'm giving them exactly what they were looking for. And especially like if it's traumatic death or a mystery about their death or, they were in a good emotional place together when that person died. All the time. There's so much healing going on. Almost every reading that I have. And it's such a blessing that I get to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm. It must be interesting as well because you probably open up this communication flow between the person and the other one trying to get through to them. And it must then kind of start something where the person can then be open to receiving and communicating with their loved one. Oh,
so many times people are like, I'm seeing the signs. Sometimes I literally feel like that they're answering me in my head when I ask them ask them questions. She's like, there was this one lady that sent me this beautiful email where she says, you told me that I could do this. And it's bad for business, but a lot of times I will tell people, I'm like, listen, you can do this too.
Yeah.
You don't need a medium. If you're connected to them in life and emotionally connected to them, you can hear them. It's just you always sit there and say, oh, I know what they would say if they were here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just so thrilled with being able to communicate with you, and I really appreciate your pure intent in trying to help, Dani. I think it's wonderful that you're doing these kind of things, and what a gift to be able to go to Sedona, which is such a magical area. And for you to be
excited.
It is so magical, and to get to talk to people and meet people and help people. And that's again on Saturday, June 29th at 6:30. But people may be hearing this that are not able to go or in some other place, and I guess they could go to DaniLinPsychicMedium.com then, or I guess they could also go to your Facebook site, right?
Oh, absolutely. And then we can schedule private readings or phone readings or whatever kind of reading you want. You don't have to be at the show to get it, but the show is just a good place to kind of see what I do and kind of to see what I'm about.
Absolutely. And it's just been a treat talking to you and getting to know you and realizing how you're touching people's lives. I just think that's very, very important. And so it's been a real treat and pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you.
I wish you really the best in your journey towards helping people to understand that there is a communication and a way to contact those loved ones and to do healing and to really find out more how you can put some sense into some of these things that happen that can be very difficult in someone's life.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's great to be able to just let people know, like, death is not the end, and we don't have to fear it. We are born to die, and we will, that it's just a transference of energy.
Absolutely. And people, you spell your name Dani, L-I-N, Dani,
Yes.
Danilin. So it's been really great talking to you, Dani, and I just really thank you for your service and what you do.
Thank you so much for allowing me to talk today. I just feel honored that I was able to find you on the radio. Our guides take us exactly where we're supposed to be.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome.